The scream from the gymnasium echoed through the hallways of Galactic Academy, slicing through the usual ambient buzz of alien languages and technological beeps. Isaac Young lay sprawled on the polished floor, his face contorted in pain, his right leg bent at an angle that was clearly unnatural. 23 alien students crowded around him, their reactions varying from stunned silence to high-pitched chittering of alarm. Professor Klex, a tall Xylarian with 4 arms and iridescent blue skin, pushed through the crowd with surprising speed. "Everyone back, give him space." The professor commanded, kneeling beside Isaac. Isaac grimaced, sweat beading on his forehead as he tried to sit up. "It's okay, Professor, just a broken leg, they'll heal, it's fine." The collective gasp from the alien students was almost comical. A Melnarian student named Vrisk, whose translucent skin showed his 3 pulsing hearts working overtime from shock, stepped forward. "But your skeletal support structure is compromised," Vrisk exclaimed, his voice pitched high with concern. "How can you be so calm?" Isaac attempted a smile that looked more like a grimace. "Humans break bones all the time. We heal 6 to 8 weeks and I'll be good as new." Professor Klex was already activating his emergency communicator. "Medical team to gymnasium, human injury protocol." A small Paxian student named Alara floated closer, her gas-filled body wobbling with agitation. "Is it true humans can repair broken internal support structures without surgical intervention?" "Yeah," Isaac said through gritted teeth. "Our bones knit back together naturally. We just need to keep them aligned properly while they heal." The medical team arrived 2 Vesperian medics with their characteristic precision movements, and a Terran-trained doctor named Dr. Zhen who had specialized in xenobiology with a focus on humans. "What happened, Doctor?" Zhen asked, already scanning Isaac with a handheld medical device. "Basketball," Isaac explained. "I went up for a layup, Gorn blocked me and I came down wrong." Gorn, a massive 4-legged Krillian with thick exoskeletal plating, looked devastated. "I did not intend harm." "In Krillian sports, physical contact is expected and not your fault," Isaac interrupted. "Just an accident." Dr. Zhen finished her scan and nodded. "Clean break of the tibia, we'll need to set it and apply a stabilizing field." The alien students watched in fascination as the medical team carefully straightened Isaac's leg, causing him to bite back another scream. Several students recoiled at the sound of bone grating against bone. "This is barbaric," whispered Nax, a crystalline Solarian whose body contained no soft tissue at all. "Why not just replace the damaged part?" Professor Klex turned to the class, seeing an educational opportunity. "This is an excellent question. Can anyone explain why humans don't typically replace broken bones?" Trill, a studious Medusan with an exceptional memory, raised a tentacle. "Because human bones contain marrow that produces blood cells. They're not just structural, they're vital organs." "Correct," Professor Klex said. "And what's more, human bone is living tissue that can regenerate. Isaac's statement is factually accurate, his bones will heal." The medics had applied a temporary stabilizing field to Isaac's leg and were preparing to transport him to the medical bay. The field glowed with a soft blue light, immobilizing the limb while allowing it to be visible for educational purposes. "Class," Professor Klex announced, "we're going to accompany Isaac to the medical bay if he consents. This presents an excellent opportunity to observe human medical care firsthand." Isaac, looking pale but more comfortable now that his leg was immobilized, nodded. "Sure, might as well make this educational." As the medical team helped Isaac onto a hovering stretcher, the alien students followed at a respectful distance, still murmuring among themselves. The journey to the medical bay took them through the central atrium of the academy, where students from dozens of species stopped to watch the procession. In the medical bay, Dr. Zhen and her team transferred Isaac to an examination table. The alien students were directed to an observation area behind a transparent barrier where they could watch without interfering. I'm going to give you a localized analgesic, Dr. Zhen told Isaac. You'll remain conscious, but you won't feel pain in your leg. Vrisk raised a trembling appendage. Why not use full neural suppression? Is pain necessary for human healing? Dr. Zhen addressed the class as she administered the medication. Full neural suppression isn't needed for a simple fracture. We maintain consciousness because it allows us to monitor neural responses, and because, frankly, humans prefer to remain aware when possible. It's creepy to wake up and not know what happened to you, Isaac added. The students watched intently as Dr. Zhen used a more sophisticated scanner to create a three-dimensional holographic image of Isaac's broken bone. The break was clearly visible, a diagonal fracture across the shaft of the tibia. As you can see, Dr. Zhen explained, this is what we call a simple fracture. The bone is broken but hasn't pierced the skin, and the break is relatively clean. Lara bobbed closer to the barrier. How long until the calcium structures begin to rejoin? The healing process begins almost immediately, Dr. Zhen said. Within hours, a blood clot forms around the break. Over the next few days, a soft callus of cartilage will develop. Then, over several weeks, that callus will be replaced by bone. While she spoke, a Vesperian medic was preparing a more permanent cast, a lightweight, porous material that would harden around Isaac's leg while allowing the skin to breathe. Why not use regenerative acceleration? Asked Nax. Surely that would be more efficient. Isaac answered before the doctor could. We do have bone stimulators that can speed healing a bit, but too much acceleration can cause problems with bone density and structure. Sometimes the old-fashioned way is still best. Dr. Zhen nodded. Isaac is correct. We'll be using a mild stimulation field, but human bones heal best when given appropriate time. Now, I need to set the bone precisely before applying the cast. The students watched in fascination as Dr. Zhen manipulated Isaac's leg, using the holographic display as a guide to ensure perfect alignment of the bone fragments. Though Isaac couldn't feel pain, the students could see him tense at the sensation of his bones moving. Is it distressing? Asked Trill, whose species communicated partially through empathic links. Weird, not painful, Isaac explained. I can feel pressure and movement, just not pain. Once the bone was properly aligned, the team began applying the cast material. It went on as a flexible wrap that gradually hardened to form a rigid support. Will you need to use mobility assistance devices? Professor Klex asked. Crutches, probably, Isaac said. Though maybe I can convince Dr. Zhen to let me use one of those hover chairs. Dr. Zhen gave him a stern look. Standard protocol for humans is to maintain some weight-bearing activity as healing progresses. A hover chair would actually slow your recovery. This sparked another round of questions from the students, who were fascinated by the counterintuitive idea that stress on healing bone could actually strengthen it. As the medical team finished with the cast, Professor Klex addressed the class. This experience presents an excellent opportunity for cross-species understanding. I'd like each of you to consider how your own species deals with structural damage and prepare a comparative analysis. The students began chattering excitedly about the assignment, many of them already making notes on their personal devices. Vrisk approached the barrier, his 3 hearts now beating in a normal rhythm. Isaac, would you permit me to monitor your healing process for my research project? I'm specializing in comparative xenobiology. Sure, Isaac said, sitting up carefully. As long as it doesn't involve taking the cast off or sticking me with anything. Dr. Zhen handed Isaac a pair of adjustable crutches. These are calibrated to your height and weight. You'll need to keep weight off that leg for at least 2 weeks, then we'll reassess. Isaac took the crutches and, with the doctor's help, stood carefully. The alien students watched with interest as he took a few experimental steps. You'll need to inform your other instructors, Professor Klex said. Some accommodations may be necessary for certain classes. Isaac nodded. Especially 0G training, though I bet I could still manage the simulation pods. Absolutely not, Dr. Zhen said firmly. No 0G until that bone is fully healed. The strain could displace the fracture. As Isaac made his way out of the medical bay, still a bit unsteady on the crutches, his classmates followed, peppering him with questions. Does the structural damage cause fear? Will this affect your nutritional requirements? Is it true humans consumed calcium from other species to strengthen their bones? Isaac answered patiently, realizing that his injury had suddenly made him the center of intense xenobiological interest. Over the next few days, Isaac's routine at the Galactic Academy changed dramatically. Moving between classes took longer, and he found himself constantly surrounded by curious alien students from various departments who had heard about the human with the self-healing skeleton. In the cafeteria 3 days after his injury, Isaac was trying to manage his lunch tray while balancing on his crutches when Alara floated over and gently lifted the tray from his hands. "I can assist," she said, her gas-filled body pulsing with what Isaac had learned was the Paxian equivalent of enthusiasm. "I have been researching human calcium requirements. Your tray should contain 37% more calcium-rich foods to optimize bone healing." Isaac smiled as he followed her to a table. "Thanks, Alara, but I'm already taking supplements Dr. Zhen prescribed." Alara settled the tray on the table and bobbed in what might have been disappointment. "Oh, I had prepared a nutritional analysis." "I'd still like to see it," Isaac said quickly. "Maybe there's something Dr. Zhen didn't think of." Alara brightened literally, her translucent body glowing slightly with pleasure. As Isaac sat down, Vrisk and Nax joined them, along with a centaurian named Rill whose 6 limbs made Isaac's crutches look positively primitive by comparison. "I have been monitoring the density fluctuations in your cast," Nax announced without preamble, his crystalline body refracting light as he moved. "The micro-adjustments suggest bone callus formation has begun." "Is that good?" Isaac asked, taking a bite of his lunch. "It is precisely on schedule," Nax replied. "Fascinating efficiency." Rill leaned forward, her compound eyes reflecting Isaac's face in multiple facets. "I have been considering, if your bones can regenerate, what other parts can humans regrow? Liver tissue, skin, blood," Isaac listed. "But not whole limbs or organs, if that's what you're asking. We're not starfish." "But your young can regrow fingertips," Vrisk added excitedly. "I read this in a medical journal." "Really?" Isaac looked surprised. "I didn't know that." "Only very young humans and only partial regrowth," clarified Vrisk. "The capacity diminishes with age." Their conversation was interrupted when Professor Mardax, the 0G training instructor, approached the table. The Jovian's massive gas-filled body hovered just above the floor. "Young Isaac," the professor's voice boomed from a speaker embedded in his environmental suit. "I have reviewed your medical restrictions and designed an alternative theoretical curriculum until you are cleared for practical training." "Thank you, Professor," Isaac said. "I was worried about falling behind." "Impossible," Professor Mardax declared. "The mind must simply compensate when the body cannot perform. You will calculate trajectory adjustments while your classmates execute them. When you are healed, your understanding will be deeper." After lunch, Isaac made his way to Xenohistory class, where Professor Lara, a Vulcanoid with striking logical precision, had rearranged the seating to accommodate his extended leg. "Today," she announced, "we will examine how different species' physical vulnerabilities have shaped their historical development." Isaac's current condition provides an apt illustration. For the next hour, the class discussed how humans' relatively fragile but renewable physical structure had influenced Earth's development of medicine, warfare, and even architecture. The alien students were particularly fascinated by the concept of hospitals as dedicated healing centers rather than replacement facilities. "In Melnarian society," Vrisk explained, "damaged individuals receive immediate part replacement. There is no concept of healing time." which might explain why Milnarian architecture never developed features like handrails or safety barriers. Professor T. Lara noted, "Your species never evolved to accommodate temporary disability." By the end of the class, Isaac had gained a new perspective on human fragility and resilience that he'd never considered before. 2 weeks after his injury, Isaac returned to the medical bay for his follow-up assessment. A small crowd of students had gathered outside, all of them involved in various research projects related to his healing process. Dr. Zhen shooed them away. "This is a medical examination, not a scientific exhibition. You can read the anonymized data later." "Inside, Doctor." Zhen performed a comprehensive scan of Isaac's leg. The holographic display showed significant progress. A robust callus had formed around the break, connecting the two pieces of bone. "Excellent progress," Dr. Zhen said. "The bone is stabilizing nicely. I'm going to replace your cast with a walking boot that will allow you to begin putting some weight on that leg." As she removed the old cast, Isaac got his first look at his leg. The skin was pale and slightly shriveled from being enclosed for 2 weeks. "Gross," he muttered. Dr. Zhen smiled. "Perfectly normal. The skin will return to normal quickly. Now, I want you to start physical therapy to rebuild muscle strength, but you must be careful not to overdo it." The new walking boot was more flexible than the cast, allowing limited movement while still supporting the healing bone. After receiving instructions on how to properly use it, Isaac left the medical bay to find Vrisk, Ilara, and several other students waiting anxiously. "The healing progresses according to standard parameters," Isaac announced, mimicking Nax's formal tone. Ilara bobbed excitedly. "You have received a mobility upgrade?" "Sort of," Isaac laughed. "I still can't run or jump, but at least I can walk without the crutches." For the next 3 weeks, Isaac continued his recovery, gradually increasing his activity level under the watchful eyes of both Dr. Zhen and his self-appointed alien research team. The experience had created unexpected bonds between him and his classmates, who had become deeply invested in his healing process. 6 weeks after the initial injury, Isaac underwent a final scan that confirmed the bone had fully healed. There was still some remodeling to be done. The body would continue to strengthen the repair over the coming months, but he was cleared for all normal activities. To celebrate, Professor Klex organized a special presentation where Isaac's alien research team could share their findings on human bone healing with the entire xenobiology department. The Academy's lecture hall was packed with students and faculty from various departments, all curious about the human healing process that had become something of a sensation on campus. Vrisk began the presentation with detailed scans showing the progression of Isaac's healing, from initial fracture to final recovery. "The process demonstrates remarkable efficiency without technological intervention," he explained. "The human body prioritizes functional repair over aesthetic perfection." Nax followed with an analysis of the changing mineral composition of the callus as it transformed from cartilage to bone. "The gradual calcification process allows for stress adaptation during healing, resulting in a repair that can actually be stronger than the original structure at the break point." Ilara presented her nutritional research, showing how Isaac's diet had been optimized to support bone regeneration. "Human healing requires significant energy and specific mineral input, demonstrating an evolutionary trade-off between regenerative capacity and resource requirements." When the formal presentations concluded, Professor Klex opened the floor for questions. A Rigelian medical student raised a tentacle. "Given the time investment required for natural healing, wouldn't it be more efficient to simply replace the damaged bone with a synthetic substitute?" Isaac stepped forward to answer. "It might seem more efficient in the short term, but there are advantages to natural healing. The healed bone is living tissue that continues to adapt to stress and integrate fully with the body's systems. Synthetic replacements don't grow or adapt the same way. But the time loss." The Rigelian persisted. is offset by not requiring maintenance or replacement later, Isaac explained. Plus, there's no risk of rejection or integration failure. The questions continued for nearly an hour, ranging from technical inquiries about the biochemical processes involved to more philosophical discussions about how different evolutionary paths had led to varying approaches to physical damage across species. As the event concluded, Professor Klex presented Isaac and the research team with a special commendation for their contribution to cross-species medical understanding. This project exemplifies the mission of Galactic Academy, the professor declared. Through Isaac's injury, we have all gained valuable insights not just into human physiology, but into the diverse approaches to physical recovery throughout the galaxy. After the presentation, Isaac found himself surrounded by his alien friends as they made their way to the cafeteria for a celebration dinner. I never thought breaking my leg would turn into the most educational experience of my time here, Isaac laughed. I still find it remarkable, Vrisk said, that your initial response was so calm. They'll heal. Its fine seemed so dismissive of what was clearly a serious structural failure. Isaac considered this. I guess it's because humans have been dealing with broken bones since before we had medical technology. It's built into our culture that some injuries, while painful and inconvenient, are just temporary setbacks. My species would consider any structural damage catastrophic, Nax said. A crack in my crystalline matrix would be permanent without immediate technological intervention. And my gaseous form can be replenished but not truly healed if compromised, Alara added. As they settled at their table, Isaac realized how much his perspective had changed. What he had taken for granted his body's ability to repair itself was viewed as almost miraculous by some of his alien classmates. I've learned as much from breaking my leg as I have from any class, Isaac admitted. I never really thought about how lucky humans are to have bodies that can fix themselves. And we have learned that what appears fragile may in fact be resilient in unexpected ways, Rill noted, a valuable lesson for future xenobiologists. The conversation continued well into the evening, touching on everything from evolutionary biology to cultural attitudes toward injury across different worlds. What had begun as a painful accident had transformed into a profound opportunity for cross-species understanding. 3 months later, Isaac's leg had fully healed, with only a slight difference in bone density at the break site visible on high-resolution scans. He had returned to all his normal activities, including zero-G training and basketball, though he was noticeably more careful when landing from jumps. The research project sparked by his injury had grown into an ongoing study of comparative recovery mechanisms across species, with students from dozens of worlds contributing data and analysis. Professor Klex had even secured funding to establish a dedicated laboratory for the work. On the anniversary of his injury, Isaac found himself back in the gymnasium, participating in a modified version of basketball that had been designed to accommodate the physical characteristics of multiple species. The rules had been adjusted to reduce the risk of injury while maintaining the essence of the game. As he moved across the court, now fully healed and confident in his movements, Isaac caught sight of a new human student watching from the sidelines. The young woman looked hesitant, clearly uncertain about joining the mixed-species game. Isaac jogged over to her. First time seeing Xeno basketball, she nodded. It looks intense. Are injuries common? Isaac smiled. They happen occasionally, but we've modified the rules to make it safer. And besides, if something does happen, we heal. It's fine. From across the gym, he heard Vrisk call out, Isaac, you are understating the seriousness of potential structural damage again. Isaac laughed and turned back to the new student. What Vrisk means is that we take safety seriously now, but we also understand that different species have different recovery capabilities. It's all part of learning to live and work together. The new student looked confused but intrigued. I feel like there's a story there. There definitely is, Isaac said, gesturing toward his alien friends. And they'd all be happy to tell you about the time I became the most studied broken bone in Academy history. As they walked toward the group, Isaac realized how much that painful moment had changed him. What had begun as a simple injury had opened up new understanding between species, created lasting friendships, and even advanced xenobiological research. His broken bones had healed, but the connections formed during that process had become something far more significant, a bridge of understanding across the diverse species of the galaxy. You know, Isaac told the new student as they joined the others, sometimes it's our vulnerabilities that create the strongest bonds. Vrisk, overhearing this, tilted his translucent head. A fascinating metaphor that parallels the actual bone healing process. The breakpoint becomes stronger through the healing response. Exactly, Isaac agreed. And in both cases, the healing works best when it happens naturally with the right support. As they resumed their game, Isaac moved with confidence on his fully healed leg, surrounded by friends from across the galaxy, who had come to understand and respect the remarkable resilience of the human body. What had once seemed like a simple statement, "They'll heal," "It's fine," had become a profound lesson in the different ways that life throughout the universe had evolved to persist, adapt, and overcome damage. The injury was long healed, but the understanding it had created continued to grow, strengthening connections between species just as surely as his bone had knit itself back together. In the end, that was the most valuable recovery of all.